Hello, and welcome to a conversation on the Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller, joined by a fierce and fiery progressive from the great state of Florida, returning actually. I think we spoke, I think it was the Friday before your primary, and then you won the primary on that following Tuesday. So excited to have you back, Mr. Adam Christensen. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's last time we talked, it was a little stressful. I mean, it's still stressful, but I mean, it was it was kind of incredible because we were going right into the primary, and we thought we were going to win, and it was way closer than we imagined it would be, but we came out on top.
That's cool. Yeah, there was Florida on that primary day. There were a lot of good progressives running, and it was a rough night watching the returns and stuff. And then there was this glimmer of hope in Florida's third and Adam, right? So it was awesome to watch. So now we're in the general, right? And you have a terrible Republican opponent, which we'll get to. But I want to ask about your one of the kind of angles of your campaign that's getting a lot of media and attention is the youth, right? So you're a younger candidate. You have a lot of younger grassroots volunteers and stuff. Can you talk about that? Like how how are you being able to successfully connect with such a young staff? How are you able to lure them in and
lure them in?
Yeah, that sounds a little shady. How are you able to appeal to them and get them to volunteer and stuff, right?
Shoot, I mean, you just be real, right? I mean, it's the one thing that most people, my age and especially, kind of like me know is we know when it's BS. Like when somebody's talking to us, they don't actually mean what they believe. Like we know it, we can tell, we can see it. And so like for us, the one thing about us is, we're real. I mean, what we are saying is what we are fighting for because we actually believe in it. We did a couple historic things with our primary. One, we ran it with a completely youth-led campaign. Everybody was under the age of 23, which is incredible. But the more impressive thing is that we did something that has never happened in this area. We knew we would never win Alachua. We knew we were never going to beat the Democratic establishment in Gainesville. And instead, what we did was we ran up the score in the rural areas, the places that Democrats traditionally just get to Washington and be like, oh, I'm a congressperson, and now I sit here and I make money. No, like that's pointless. Nobody wants to do that. So for us, it's we win this, and it's the start. It's not the end, if that makes sense.
Right on, absolutely. And I remember you highlighting that by doing that, it elevates every other candidate up ballot, right? Because you're drawing out the voters from those, those areas that maybe the party hasn't aggressively pursued or even outright neglected, right? Yeah. So let me just to recap a little bit of your policy, right? So you are a legit progressive, Medicare for all, Green New Deal. Let me just pull this up super quickly. Go check out the previous interview. We get a little more policy specific, sustainable agriculture, universal broadband, endorsed by Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson, progressive guide, et cetera, et cetera. So go check out our previous interview, but you are a legit progressive. I think one of the other things about the youth campaign is there is an urgency of now, right? So you can't sit back and wait for the older generation to implement these policies incrementally. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, and we're actually going to be releasing this very shortly. It's one thing to just not vote against somebody else. It's an entirely different thing to actually vote for someone because you actually think that they're going to fight for something that changes your life. And so we are actually releasing this. You might be the first person to actually hear about this outside of our campaign, but we were releasing an entire plan for our area because what we realized is, number one, we can talk about all these vastly great, wonderful things. We can talk about all the policies that we believe in and we're fighting for, but what does that actually look for like in our area? What does that look like in our lives? And so what you mentioned was, we are actually, I would even say in the traditional vein of what a progressive is supposed to be. Anti-monopoly, anti-price fixing, going after people that stop the free market, making sure that billionaires and oligarchs and people like that do not have total control of your area. And so we said, what would that look like if it was actually implemented here? So there's a couple different things. Number one, we have a company called Nestle that is coming in and essentially trying to bottle water out of the Santa Fe River as much as they possibly can and then sell it right back to us. Number one, if they do that, it is going to dry up the Santa Fe River, which would dry up all of the natural springs that most of our towns, like High Springs, get all their tourism. If those springs are gone, the town is gone. Everything dries up. All the small businesses are gone. And what you see is you have Republicans and environmentalists that are standing up and saying, we don't want our community to get destroyed.
Right.
When does that happen? Tell me what would happen between Republicans and Democrats. It wouldn't. Conservatives and progressives, they can find common ground. And that's what we're seeing is people that their way of life is going to get destroyed if they allow these people to come in and take what is theirs. And so we also see that with phosphate mining out in Union County. Right now we have a bunch of phosphate mines, which are essentially poisoning everything. Most people don't know this, but the main ingredient in fertilizer is phosphate, is phosphorus. And so basically what happens is if you remove those mines, it forces people to have to find alternatives for agriculture. And what we also have here, especially in Florida, is we have some people that have been doing a lot of work on something called carbon farming, which is essentially trapping and sequestering carbon in the ground so you get more crop yield and less fertilizer, less algae blooms, and it's better for the environment. And so what our idea is, essentially, you go after these companies, you remove them from the system, which creates the opportunity for something new. In our case, that would be basically carbon farming pilot programs. But on top of that, my mind went, okay, well, if we're going to do that anyway, why don't we go bigger? If we want a federal jobs guarantee, a federal jobs program, what does that look like here? And so my mind went back to Teddy Roosevelt, and not Teddy Roosevelt, actually FDR. After World War II, what did he do? What did they do? They created the Tennessee Valley Authority. They created all these different jobs programs. So I thought, what would that look like here in Florida? Well, what if we had an Old Florida Authority? Something that is designed to really reconstruct or bring back the essence of what our area used to be and the way that people actually lived and actually move us into the future. So one, we can have high-speed rail here. That's futuristic. It would create a lot of jobs. We could do broadband internet into all the rural counties, just like Eisenhower did with the highway system. That's incredibly patriotic, and you know what? There's more jobs. On top of that, what if we created incubators in all of these different counties, where if you have an idea for a company, you can go get cheap rent, you can have a mentorship program, you can actually have a location, so the people that grow up in your town, they don't leave to start other companies. They stay there because there's actual system designed to foster that. What if we expanded the airport and brought more people in to invest? What if we decided that we were going to restore one of the rivers on the east side of our district and bring back Old Florida? And we had steamboats again. What if we actually created something that brings back the culture and the spirit of where we live instead of just allowing giant companies to come in and destroy that? And so for me, it's got to be about the money. That's the only reason any of this will change, is about the money. So we provide an opportunity that people can make more money and actually have something they can be proud of again. And so that is a part of the jobs program that we are coming up with and are going to be releasing. But this is the vision, right? When we talk about these things, what does that look like? How would it affect us? And I think if you're able to show that, not just bashing your opponent, not just saying these people are terrible, they are, but giving people something to fight for, giving somebody a vision of the future. And I think we have to do that. And that's something we have not done for a long time.
Yeah, hear, hear. And baked into that, there are a couple other things, and I'm sure it's in your plan, is, you'll probably get pushback. How do you pay for it, right? One of those things is ending the endless wars, right? So instead of imperialistic misadventures, feeding the military industrial complex with our tax dollars, we invest in us, like you're saying, right?
Yes, I get that. And I get the question, how do you pay for it? You know what I find incredible? When you go to one of these giant companies, they don't ask a question, how do you pay for it, in a board meeting? They say, what are we going to get in return for investing here? How much of a return are we going to get? They don't say, how do we pay for it? They say, if we spend this money, how much more do we make? Every single thing I just suggested brings in way more money. Guess what? It pays for itself. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, I love that. We talked about that last time, about right-wing framing and how to counter it. I love that approach. Instead of every single time you get to how you're going to pay for it, say, what do we get for our investment, right? Love
That's
it. And the other component of that too, just to local constituents, who might be might have jobs in those various industries and stuff, there is a just transition presumably in that plan as well, right? So, it's not like you'd be working on phosphate on Friday and then, have a high-speed rail job on Monday. There's training, there's phasing in. I'm assuming that's all in your plan as well, right?
Absolutely. But the thing is, right now, what is the only job that a 19-year-old can get? Fast food. That's it. And that doesn't pay enough for you to make anything. What we are suggesting is that you actually get a skill, you get paid for getting a skill, and you actually have a good paying job in a new industry. That's a whole lot better than what we got now. It can't get worse. Why don't we try something different?
Yeah, I love it. You did say, I do like focusing on what you're fighting for, but you are in the general, and you do have a terrible Republican named Kat Kamak, I think is her name. What do you
call her? Kate. Other people can't pronounce her name. I don't think anyone really knows at this point who it is, but
and she's from Ted Yoho's office, and I think she's misrepresented herself, and she's just run-of-the-mill terrible, endorsed by Trump, NRA, et cetera, et cetera. Anything you want to comment on about her?
Yeah, the corruption goes deep. I mean, when we talk about politics as usual, that is who she is. And there's going to be a lot of things that come out in the next couple of weeks. It's probably going to end her political career, and it should. And so what we are saying is, look, these things, we know them. We know how bad it is. That can be better. We don't have to keep doing the same things the same way. For instance, right now we have toxic coal ash heaps in Clay County that our sheriff's deputies are training on as a training facility and getting cancer. And yet she did a GoFundMe so that she could go to a honeymoon in Europe in a castle. Meanwhile, you got sheriff deputies creating GoFundMe so that they can pay so they don't go bankrupt from the medical bills of which they could have just switched the training facility and cleaned up the toxic coal ash. And so what I'm proposing is we do that. We do the actual smart thing that would help first responders. We actually do things that help people, not just ourselves.
Yeah, amazing. I love that you pointed that out. Aside from sort of the local policy that would affect your, the constituents in your district, there are national issues, right? So if you make it in the House of Representatives, there's a whole suite of things that you'll have to address and raise your voice on, et cetera, et cetera. So let me just hit a few of the news items of the day, right? So obviously, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed over the weekend. Just your thoughts on her and what the Democrats need to do and what the House can do to, protect the court, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, she is an icon, a hero. But the funny thing about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is when she first got into the Supreme Court, she was moderate compared to everyone else. So many of these judges have just been removed that she appeared to be a left icon. She never was. She was actually about as moderate as it comes. And that is how far we have moved. And so what I basically said is as soon as this happened, and honestly, even before it, I've been saying it for years, it's time to pack the court. It is time to increase the number of judges that we have and make sure that we can actually, make people's lives better instead of having right-wing extreme people on the court and we start to see them as moderate, as we have for the last 10 years. We actually redesign it and we do something that is going to change the way that our lives are affected. Because right now it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. And yet we keep playing the same old games and we keep letting people like Mitch McConnell make their own rules up and say, oh, well, this is its own certain little circumstance. And, 4 years ago, I thought something different. And I didn't have power then. So therefore it was okay. No, if you're not if somebody is going to argue in bad faith, if they're going to do something that they don't believe in and they're doing it just to gain power, well, how about you start being a little ruthless with them? I am tired of Democrats who sit back and complain whenever somebody breaks the rules or skirts them or does whatever they want and not actually do something about it. You're upset that we have only 50 people in the Senate that have to approve judges now. Well, guess what? Get a couple more senators, do whatever the hell you want. And then guess what? Right before you're about to lose power, increase the number of judges number of senators that it takes in order to confirm judges. Break the rules, then fix them. Do what you want to do so you can actually fix democracy instead of just sitting back and letting it be broken and be destroyed and you just complain about it. I'm tired of it. I am sick of watching these people do this because they've done it my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's they're paid to lose, paid to obstruct, right? Feign outrage, et cetera, et cetera. I'm glad that you said that. And, anyone watching, imagine we had, yet another voice like Adam on the House floor speaking as passionately as he is, unbought by corporate PACs, right? Instituting, or even suggesting some of his bold plans. Like, we need fighters like that. It would be a blessing to have Adam on the House floor, particularly now.
Anyone, literally anyone that would actually fight. Look,
right.
We know that what we are doing is going to help people. We know it's the right thing to do. We get that.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it then? It's not, I think the reason we don't do it is social. I honestly believe that people are more scared of being looked at as, oh, well, I don't know about that person. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. If I was to do that as a soccer coach, if I was to say, oh, well, don't score that extra goal simply because it might make you look bad, I'd be fired. Right. It makes no sense. Run up the score. Run up the score, especially if it's going to help people that you know. If it's going to make people's lives better, do it. Yeah. Stop worrying about the other team. Stop acting like everyone is a winner. That is what they do in politics. They act like everyone is a winner. No, if you have a better strategy and you have the advantage, take it and run with it as far as you can, run up the score, and then make them play defense and try to get it back. That's what Republicans have done for 40 years, and Democrats have let them. I'm tired of it.
Right on. Hear, hear. Well said, my friend. How about the, this also applies to, Donald Trump and the creep of fascism. I'm sure a lot of your volunteers are out in the streets marching and so forth. Can you talk about, how important this election is in November from top to bottom? Like, there's a lot on the ballot, not just pushing forward. There's defensive votes, et cetera, et cetera. Can you talk about just the creep of fascism that we're facing?
Well, I mean, in my entire lifetime, a sitting president has never come to this district to help a nominee for Congress. Donald Trump will be in Clay County later this week to help Kat Kamik at a rally because he realizes that this seat is not safe. That is the first time in over 20 years that anyone has ever said that. And so if you are going to tell me that we don't have a shot here, that we have not changed things, that we don't know what we're doing, or this is not a safe seat, I don't know what you're talking about, because I have never seen that happen. I don't know of presidents who endorse people in safe seats who don't think there might be a problem there. They keep saying this seat is a +9. I don't see it. And especially with what is going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, this race is going to be one of the most watched in the country. And it's going to be incredible because you got people like me and my staff that are just ready to burn it down. We're ready, because it gets to a point where you need to start having a righteous anger, where you need to say, I do not care what the corruption is. I do not care what somebody has done. They're going to be held accountable. That is what you need to do. And that is not something that we've done in politics. And I think the reason that people get upset by attack ads or negative campaigning and all this different stuff is because it doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel like that person is doing it because it's right. It feels like they're doing it because it's politically expedient. With me, like, my day job's catching fraud. I don't care. I'm ready for it because it is the right thing to do. And so that is the way that we focused on this, is everything that we were focusing on, policy, how we talk to people, what we do, what kind of ads we run. It is focused on making sure that it is doing it for the right reasons because we believe in it, not because it's going to get us a couple votes.
Right on. So what? This is going to be a massive softball. You ready? So what keeps you motivated when you point out that the comment from the TV is coming to your district, right? Because they recognize the threat. And you have a young staff, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you inspired to, basically be, it's not a David Goliath situation, but to go head first against that fascist machine? Softball.
I honestly wouldn't call that a softball. For the last, I would say, probably month, maybe a little bit longer, like, my head especially has been kind of fuzzy. I have not been focused. And I think that a lot of people are kind of like me, where you start to get overwhelmed because there is so much that is hitting you at all times, and the stress just hits you. Like running for Congress, running for any position in general, most people have never done it. I wouldn't recommend it. It sucks. It's not fun. You get beat down, like everything in your mind goes fuzzy, like you're not able to think straight. I actually had to take a couple days, and I had to go out to a cabin and just sit on a boat dock for 2 days and just think about, number one, why am I doing this? Why is it important? Why do we care? Why am I passionate about this? Because I was passionate when we first started. And it's kind of like you don't see the forest through the trees kind of thing, where you get so focused on these small little details and you lose sight. And I think every single person who is running would be lying if they said that at some point they do not get to a point where they don't know how to keep going. And you either figure that out, you either figure out how to change it, how to bring yourself back, or you don't. And I think for us, the one thing about our campaign is the people around me never lost faith. They never thought that the things that we were doing were not important and that we couldn't do it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, they brought me back to a place where now I am sitting here and I am ready to go, and I'm ready to do exactly what we said we wanted to do at the beginning. And thankfully, it's not too late. For some people, it happens to be too late. But for us, we're ready to go, because what we are fighting in is the same thing that we started at the beginning. And we know what it is. We understand that it is our lives. It is the people around us, the people that we love and we care about. And we are in a position to actually make their lives better and make our lives better. And we're going to do that, whatever it takes. And so I wouldn't say that was a softball question. I would say that's, oof. Don't throw that at other people. I don't think you're going to like it.
Right on. Well, it's AOC did that really wonderful live stream over the weekend when she said, turn your fear into fuel, turn your fear into focus, right? So, it's I don't envy you. It's not a fun position to be in, knowing that he's coming there and he's going to say crazy bullshit and it's going to be mean-spirited and untrue and whatever, right? So, you're going to have thick skin, no matter how untrue it is. You have to have thick skin, and you're going to get, insane, deplorable tweets, et cetera, right? But
you don't just need to have thick skin. You need to have a support system. You need to have a base of support that believes in what you are fighting for. And I think that's a lot of the reason that a lot of campaigns just explode in on themselves is you surround yourself, the people that you surround yourself with are the ones who are going to keep you focused on what you need to do. The one thing I've realized with campaigning is it's not usually about the candidate themselves, it's about who's around them. When it came to the Obama administration, it wasn't about Obama himself, it was about the people who were running his office. It's about the system around you. And if you don't have the right system, if you don't have the right people, if you don't have the right focus and right idealism, you will not be successful. And I think for me, that's one thing that I'm lucky enough to have. And I think more people need to have it, is you need to believe in what you are doing. And when you start to fall off, you need to have the people that will drag you kicking and screaming back and put you back where you need to be. And I think that is most important.
Beautiful. Well, let's kind of close, so just how can people help? Let me give you your website again. It's forthemanynotjustme.com. You can follow Adam on Twitter. There's his Twitter handle. I'm assuming you have texting campaigns, phone banking. People can donate from anywhere in the country. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we got all of it. We got a couple different, how do I put this? We got a couple different campaigns going right now. We're a pretty big, large area. It's a +9 Republican district, which means we have to make up about 40,000 votes. The one thing I said when we got into this is we would never change our policy. We would never water it down. But you can rewrite the playbook. So right now we have an entire campaign that is focused on cranking up the numbers in the Democratic areas. And that's through vote by mail. That's through absentee ballots. If you have a vote by mail, you are almost twice as likely to vote as somebody going to the polls. So how do we make sure that we can run up the score? Well, we make sure every single person has an absentee or vote by mail ballot. Number two, how do you fight in a Republican area and convince people to vote for you without changing your policy? Well, one thing I realized was if I come knock to your door in Clay County wearing a purple or a blue shirt, they're not going to open up the door. If I come in a black or a red shirt, they're going to open up the door and at least talk to me. And so our campaign in some of these rural red areas, we switched all our marketing. We look like Republicans.
Interesting.
But we talk like progressives. And so we're doing a lot of little things like that where we've changed optically. We've changed socially, but we have not changed policy-wise. And I think that's one thing that Democrats have really been confused about for a long time is they're not willing to go outside the box. They're not willing to try things nobody else has tried. They're not willing to do all these little things that at the end of the day, they might add up to a win in a +9 Republican district. And so we got nothing to lose. We're going to try everything. We're going to see what sticks. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And so, yeah, we've got a third campaign, which I'm not talking about, but it's pretty special. And it's probably going to be the difference. And awesome. It's our team, members of our team that have taken it and they are doing everything for it. And I don't even know what's going on. But
Well, we got about 6 weeks, right? So we're kind of in the home stretch. Again, it's for the many, notjustme.com. But if you just Google Adam Christensen, you'll find it as well. Election day is November 3rd, obviously. Do you know those dates about when they can request the ballot? Do you have those if you want to share?
Yeah, you can request a ballot up until, it's like 12 or 15 days before the election, I think is when you can request one. Ballots will probably start going out. Mailed ballots are probably going to start going out in the next couple weeks. So now what we're doing is we're focusing on getting as many people registered for them. And then we're going to start chasing them. The one cool thing about the pandemic and how we're running this campaign and mail ballots to begin with is who hasn't voted. So you can go bug them until they do. And you know what their voting history is. And so we have up-to-date information. And so we actually have Done Waiting, which was Solomon Rajput out of Michigan. Their campaign, when it ended, they didn't shut it down. They just created a new infrastructure to throw behind progressive candidates. And so they have been doing a ridiculous amount of phone banking for us with the idea of we're going to run up the score in the Democratic areas. We're going to cut the margins and we're going to do everything we can to win with little to no money. We're starting to raise quite a bit of money and we're going to be getting into the paid advertising in the Jacksonville area very shortly. But we're doing everything we can, grassroots. And I think you said David and Goliath, right? Earlier, you made that comparison. The one thing people don't understand about that story is David was actually favored, should have been favored, because he was a slinger, which means he was good at long ranges. And if Goliath has to run towards him from a long range, David's going to take him out 9 out of 10 times. You play a different game. You don't go with what everybody else does. You do your own thing. You write your own script and you make your own game plan. And if you do it successfully and it's better than everybody else, you win 9 out of 10 times.
Love it. I love it. Boy, thanks for sharing that. So you mentioned the district and Jacksonville stuff. Is there anybody else on the slate that you're running with that you want to make mention of?
Yeah, we got multiple candidates out here that are absolutely fantastic at the House district level. One is Rock Abujadi. He is out in the High Springs area. He's actually doing a lot of his master's work and actual work on carbon farming and some of these climate change, climate preventive agricultural measures. You also have Cynthia De La Rosa, who is also 23. Rock is 23. Cynthia is 23. She's running in the basically the Marion County area, Ocala, and she is running against the I think he's the minority whip, the Republican minority whip. She is doing phenomenal work. We did get Yvonne Hayes Henson through her primary, which means she is the newly elect House rep for that district. And then we have Kim Duggar, who is running in the Republican area, and she is phenomenal. And she is absolutely great. And so we've got 4 huge candidates that have really joined our coalition, and they're ready to change things up. They're ready to do things differently because what we've been doing just doesn't work. And they're willing to try anything to see if it will. That's where we're at.
Hear, hear. Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking some time to chat with me. It's been a pleasure to watch your campaign growing, and congrats on making it through the primary. I love the momentum you have. I love the campaign you're running, and the the sort of tactics that you're employing, and I look forward to reading your plan. And I can't wait to talk to you on the other side of it and call you Representative Christensen. I'm looking forward to that day, my friend. So
it's gonna be interesting.
Fun and interesting. All right, brother. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Let me just one more time. For the many, not just me.com. Go support Adam. Send him some money, volunteer, help him out, vote November 3rd. Thanks, Adam.
Appreciate it.
Bye.